Hey, Pat here for another Pat Recommends. And this time I'm going to recommend something. I know the first episode started off with negativity with Batman, but here we have James Bond Skyfall, the latest Bond film. So I'll get into the quick and dirty right now, what you need to know if you want to see it, and then I'll move a little bit into the complaints and things I'm happy about in the spoilerish kind of second. So first off, if you want to see Skyfall, I mean, number one, it's a James Bond film, so it has everything that goes with that. Good action scenes, disposable women, and a quirky bad guy. It has all of those elements, and if you want to see a Bond film where this time around Bond is now the old guy, the world is changing, Bond is getting old. If you want to see a story like that, it's a bit long, so make sure you got 2.5 hours, but, you know, what big movie isn't long these days? So if you're looking for a good action film, check it out. So if you want to hear more about it, stick around. Hold on. You've already closed. Doubt anyone's made it this far, but if you have, good job. So here are the couple of thoughts and ideas I have with Skyfall. The big thing that's kind of stuck with me is the villain. I'm not quite sure how much I really liked that guy. I do like, I mean, I hate villains where everything goes well. One of the issues I had with the series Legend of Korra, the sequel to the Airbender show, is that things went too well for the bad guys. It got to the point of where there was no real, like, oh, well, why am I going to care? Of course they're going to win. But with him, he was such a single use. Like, everything you looked into, this is a guy that just kind of, like, from the moment he turned evil, you kind of had this feeling that he kind of sat in a room and went, all right, here's my plan, and I am going to execute on this plan. And it does get a little ridiculous in parts, especially where he throws, like, a metro train at James Bond. But, the single use of that guy, especially when things go wrong and how poorly he kind of deals with stuff. Like, he still does a lot of flair when he attacks the Skyfall Manor, but that's not exactly the best idea he could. I mean, if he could get a helicopter, why didn't he just like shoot rockets at that place and, you know, light them on fire? Like, after his single use, like, overly complicated computer hacker plan happened, he did kind of fall apart a bit, and that kind of still keeps it working. I take it or leave it how you feel about the fact that he's gay. It played for a pretty good scene where they could have James Bond be like, yeah, hey, I'm James Bond. If it moves, I'll have sex with it, or maybe I'll let it have sex with me. And that was good for that scene. Not quite sure what else that brought to the character. The thing I do like about this film, which is kind of odd where it's like reverse progress, but with Casino Royale, you had a complete reboot of the Bond franchise. And right now with this movie, Skyfall, you're brought back to where Bond was before the whole Daniel Craig thing. Like, it's kind of caught up with the original lore. You have a dude who's named M, you have a Q, and you have a Moneypenny. You can kind of see some of that stuff coming up, but it's all executed well, and this is one of those things where charm kind of overplays cynicism. I liked the people and how they dealt with their roles and what they did, so I didn't quite care, like, what really happened as it was happening. It's like, you know, you can kind of say, like, oh, that's Moneypenny, but she was great. They were all kind of great. Ray Fiennes is the new M. Like, his name's Mallory, you can see it coming, but everyone is really good at what they do. And Daniel Craig kind of maintains a really good Bond. They, you know, it works for that reason. You know, it can be kind of long in the tooth. There's the romance stuff, but I mean, Bond, the romance stuff is never really all that strong. I mean, the good news there is you didn't have to deal with like a similar kind of Vespa situation where some of the love interest is this, you know, sobbing long moment where he's kind of bummed. Like, the lady in this film dies, like, real quick. Like, they get onto it, she's dead, and Bond doesn't really seem to care. This is an older Bond. I like the older Bond aspect to him. I know it seems really weird that we went from, like, him being the rookie to now he's the grizzled vet that everyone wants to get rid of. Which then, by the end of the film, he has a lot of work to do, but I guess he's proved himself at that point. I don't know, I like the new setup. I like how they set up the new continuity, and they are going to do a double film, so we're not going to be left in the lurch for more Bond. The action works well. I mean, a big thing that bothers me with action is you reach a point where action no longer matters. You kind of like, I'm engaged, I'm excited, and then you get to the point like, the game Heavy Rain didn't understand how to pace action. It was very, very bad at that kind of thing where you reach past the point where then it just feels like work. Like, you're not even, you're sitting in a chair, you're slowly getting fatter and dying every second. But you're watching the scene and it mentally just feels like a chore. Like, all right, when is this going to get over? I do not care. And Skyfall did a good job of just finding better ways to make you either, twisting it with the fact that Bond is older or just keeping it exciting. Let's see here. Things that I definitely thought was a little underused was the whole death of Bond. I mean, you've seen it in the trailers where they've kind of blown the idea. It's like, I enjoyed being dead. Like, that's wrapped up real quick. Like, first 15 minutes kind of like, kind of done and out of the way. And it felt kind of like a wasted kind of thing. I don't know, it felt more like Spock in the beginning of Star Trek 2, where it's like, well, we gotta kill him for the trailer, or to make people happy, so let's just kill him and get it out of the way. He can look like crap and drink scorpions. And I don't know. I'm not quite sure what you do with that. It feels kind of like a dead end kind of thing. Like, oh, Bond is dead. Because they don't really have anyone else in the position. It's not like... Let's just take Batman, for instance. There wasn't a Blake in the wings that you could have followed for a while, and then Bond pops up again. You're like, oh, hey, it's Bond. Cool, let's do this. Also, how weird is it that Bond is now Batman? The whole Skyfall Manor scene. Oops, I'm shaking my camera. That's how passionate I am about this. The whole Skyfall Manor, the fact that he's an orphan, that he basically has an Alfred. He is Scottish Alfred. Yeah, that does seem kind of weird. Just made me think a lot of Batman. But just summing up, I liked it. I hated Quantum of Solace. That was a movie where the action just didn't really pay off. But this is a nice, good old mix of Bond. If you want to see, and I have to say, like, my favorite scene, and I'll wrap it up with my favorite moment of the whole film, and this is going to seem like real empty praise, but in the very, very beginning, when they played the Bond theme and he's walking down that hallway with a gun, it was like the bravo to the people making that film, because you were home in that moment. If you were really like, I didn't really feel like I was missing Bond, but in that moment when you're seeing it, it's like, yeah, this is Bond. I'm ready to watch somebody kick a whole bunch of ass. I know things are going to be, like, the cards are going to be down, and he's going to win. There's no chance he's not going to win, but I'm willing to follow this guy on his journey. You know what? I did to the end of the film, and felt satisfied at the end. I can't wait for the next Bond film. I mean, I know some people are going to compare it to Casino Royale, but, I mean, that was a kind of a magical kind of film, but I'm not big on lightning striking twice. It was a good film. Worked for me. I dug it. And, I'd like to see more of that director and that team. Hopefully he sticks around. I think his name is Mendez. He did good work. Good use of color. A lot of good use of color. Like contrasts of dark and bright color. A lot of the stuff that happens in Shanghai is beautiful. So I'm rambling at this point. Let's just say I liked it. You should see it. And, well worth your time. Well, see you next time for the next Pat Recommends. I am watching some stuff in between video games, so hope to tell you about it. So, hey, stick around.